Hey everybody. We've been organizing today. We are camping around the Sierra Nevada mountains, a very beautiful spot here. And we've been organizing our library today. And we wanted to show you guys our library because we talk a lot about how much this is like one of our pride and joys of our camper, is the library.
Yeah, it was one of the things we were most excited about with getting a truck camper is we actually have room to have books and actually have them accessible, because in the Escape we had a lot of books, but they were buried, so we actually didn't read as much as we want to and didn't really get as much as we want to. So now
we have all this space, and this is kind of how we keep our library, but we do accumulate a lot of books and we have to get clever on how to organize them in here. Right now there's some gaps, and they will get filled in because I have a bunch of them out, which we'll show you. So another thing is we talk a lot about staying on budget and what we do. People always wonder, like, well, what do you do for fun then? And this is actually one of the biggest things that we do is we read a lot, and it's a really inexpensive way to learn. And as you learn, you become less ignorant, and it makes traveling a whole lot more exciting. And yeah, it's just great, and we can learn about the areas we go to. So to give you guys, just for fun, you want an idea of kind of the stuff that we read? So I've been organizing them kind of by topics, although it's sort of hard. So these are sort of our, I guess, earth science-y kind of books. We've got stuff about fossils and dog evolution and history of life. We've got some classics. This is a Jane Goodall book and a Richard Leakey book about the origins of humans. And diversity, biological stuff, and we got a Richard Dawkins book down here that kind of buried. There's a classic, Origin of Species, Charles Darwin, and a Stephen Jay Gould book as well. And then there's our little butters down there.
He's helping. He's sleeping. But
we've got a bunch of like physics and astronomy books. So everything from modern, really good stuff like Neil deGrasse Tyson to this one I'm interested in. I have not read it yet. 5 Billion Years of Solitude. We are getting quite a collection of Carl Sagan books. Now, what we do is we keep a little baggie of change. And we just go into the thrift store with what we have, sometimes 50 cents, sometimes $2 and some, whatever. We go in and we go, okay, whatever cool books we find, that's what we'll get. And so what's cool about our library is that, I mean, as much as I would love to just go in and buy whatever book I wanted. First off, I don't know that we would have room because there's so many things I'm interested in learning about. But it kind of makes it fun just to go in and see what you find.
Yeah.
And no joke, all the Carl Sagan books that we have, these comets down there, and we actually have some other ones too that aren't here.
We loaned some out to people, so we got probably like 10 books floating around somewhere. And,
but no joke, these were all thrift store finds, different thrift stores. We just paged through, and some of them end up in the fiction section because they look like little fiction books. So it takes some work, and then we find them, and we're like, score.
Yeah, we just found The Demon Haunted World last week, so we're excited to read that one.
If you like reading and you like these types of topics, Carl Sagan is like one of our favorite authors ever. He talks about all kinds of topics, astronomy, but the twist is a lot more on like humanity and, you know, kind of taking care of the planet and stuff like that. But really, really cool, really like, you know, inspiring stuff. Okay. We've also got some other fun ones in there. This is kind of a physics book and all that. Over here, there's a few more behind Ohana. So we've got some, they're similar to those topics, but a couple more geology books. Got a couple of roadside geology books, another great idea for if you are traveling around a lot and you like geology. Roadside geology of whatever place, whatever state. These are great books. They have all the highways and along it, all the features that you can look at. Well, not all of them, but a lot of good ones. Of course, we got to have field guides for minerals and rocks for identifying those fun ones. And then just, specific regions, fossil guides. This one was a really good one. This is called Your Inner Fish. We got a couple books by that guy. Specific regions and all our little pamphlets that we get when we go to areas that we can read up on that kind of stuff too. So all kinds of geology and rock books. All right, real quick. Here is our...
So here's what we actually got in the library.
And of course a stack of maps. We collect maps definitely because we go all over the place. I love maps. I can just stare at maps. There's so many cool things to see, the topography and the features and all that stuff. So if we ever pass through and anyone's getting rid of maps, we'd probably take them.
Yeah.
I love maps. We found this one actually in the wash in Tucson.
Yeah.
Right before we went over to Texas and went to Big Bend, and it actually came in handy.
I've used a couple times.
Yeah, so that was cool. Literally in the wash, like it was covered in sand. But yeah, fun stuff like that.
Yeah. So over here, let's see what we got actually in the library. We got Hot, Flat, and Crowded. We're currently reading that one right now.
Yeah.
That one's been pretty good.
This is kind of our socio-political grouping of books,
Yeah.
I guess we'll call it.
So Biopiracy, we actually got that for free up in Inuvik, which is in the Arctic Ocean, or by the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
They have a library there. We went to it, and they had a little desk out front that had free books. And they had that, and we got some actual magazines,
There was
too.
a journal.
but
There
they
was
were-
an Arctic journal that I got a little copy of. And
So that was cool.
Oh, and we got another environmental book from there. I think we got this one. It's an environmentalism book, which is turned out as this little guy. History of Environmentalism. Also really cool
Yeah,
book.
just got done reading that one. It's good.
Yeah, go on.
Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, probably one of the best books we have. That one's amazing if you haven't read that one.
You keep showing them.
Got Moral Consequences of Economic Growth. I just read that one this year. That one's actually really good. We got Aristotle, The West Beyond the West. That's just about British Columbia. Native Americans, 1493, which we read 1491 last year.
Yep,
so
we
we
also
donated
have that
that out
book.
to somebody. So, but this is the sequel to it. So 1493. So that one's we're really excited about that. World history book with lots of information, and a don't know much about geography book, which we just got to finish reading that one. That one's really good. Just a lot of basic little facts
Yeah.
about how the planet
It didn't.
works and names and
It's one of those where when I first looked at it, I thought, well, I probably know what's in there. It didn't seem, like I would have a lot to learn from
Yeah.
it, but it actually has a lot of cool little things to learn. So
Yeah.
I like that book a lot. It's fun read, easy read.
so what do we?
This is kind of, I guess, natural sciences stuff. So this is a collection of really great works like Henry David Thoreau and others. Rachel Carson, all that stuff is in there. This also, Rachel Carson's in here, and a bunch of Aldo Leopold and Edward Abbey, who writes some really cool stuff. This is about environmentalism and the change over time. U.S. since 1945. So that was a really good read if you're into that. There's Aldo Leopold's A Sand County Almanac. That's a classic. If anyone is into science, conservation science, stuff like that, you probably have heard of that. This was an older book we found at the thrift store called The Endangered Kingdom, and I just thought it'd be cool to have in the library because I thought, oh, it talks about different animals and a little bit of background, but it went into much more detail.
Very good.
It's sad, but very good. It talks about how many animals were here before and kind of what we've done to them and what should be here,
Yeah.
and it'll change your experience in the wild.
Yeah,
So,
very good.
of course, some more field guides for identifying trees and stuff when we're out there. Makes our whole experience so much more rich, just being able to, know what we're looking at. And our foraging books, of course, we have those. We've been doing a lot. We kind of play a game with these and quiz each other and go, what's this?
Yeah.
So back here, we have a couple more that I was organizing. These are kind of our psychology, neuroscience stuff. So not a ton of those yet, but this one I haven't read yet, and I'm super excited. It's the physical basis of intelligent life, which I love thinking about intelligence and how we define intelligence. It's actually one of the hardest things to define. If you really get into an intellectual debate about how to define intelligence, it can be tricky.
We talk about it a lot, actually.
It's a tough
we have
one.
a lot of conversations.
Try it
about
out.
that.
It gets tricky. Okay, so then what else is back here? This is just one about human behavior and then the human brain and then our whole stack of Yukon fishes and birds and mushrooms and all those things that we got from the Yukon for free from their centers. So that's just a quick idea of our library and this kind of stuff that we read so that you guys better understand what we're talking about now. Yeah, we just love learning.
That's why we never get bored, because this
Yeah.
is what we do when the dogs are sleeping.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about trying to define intelligence or happiness.
Or where we're at
Yeah.
on this rock that's, floating around in space and all those books. So it's a whole lot of fun. But anyway, so that gives you kind of an idea of things that you could do for cheap if you're on a budget or if you're on the road or whatever. And I mean, you really don't need a ton of space. Like we've showed, we had, what, like half these, maybe more than half these books in the escape. They were just tucked underneath and hard to get to, like he said.
Yep.
So
if you like to learn, lots of information out there, and for really cheap spend.
And if anybody ever has books along these topics and you're getting rid of them, then hit us up, because we can't help ourselves. We got plenty of extra space now, so we can load up more. So
we usually read them all twice too, so it takes a little while to get through them. Because the first time we read it, and then we read it again, and like, oh yeah, I didn't even recognize that the first time. So
yep. So just a fun little tour of our Road Life Rig library. So that's all for today, guys. We're going to go enjoy the sunset.
Yep.
Bye.